Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences.
Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, good evening. How's everybody doing? I do have a guest that's coming on. So it's coming on today. She's about to come. She's about to come. So just needed just a few more minutes to hop on. But some of these stations, they don't let you start the show too late, right? So Sandra Schaeffer, host of Race of the Races. We have a special guest today that's going to join us for an interview. Her name is Katrina Baskin. She is running for City Council Seat 1 in the great city of Miami Gardens. I have family that live in Miami Gardens, so it was important for me to get somebody from that city that's in that race in order for you guys to speak with them so she can tell you what it is that she wants to do for the city of Miami Gardens. It's really close to, one of our sister cities like West Park. It's actually one exit from the city of Miramar. So we're and sometimes some of the things that happen in those cities do have an impact on us. We all like to go to Jazz in the Gardens. That was the birth of Shirley Gibson, who was the former mayor of the city of Miami Gardens. She started that. And I know a lot of us from Broward County go on into the city of Miami Gardens for that. Also, that's where, I always call it Dolphin Stadium. Sometimes I refer to it as Pro Player Stadium. I think Hard Rock may have the naming rights to that. I know it was Hard Rock. It was Margaritaville one time. And, the name just keeps changing. I know it as Dolphin Stadium and Pro Player Stadium. So I am dating myself a little bit by saying that. And so there are a lot of events and activities that's happening in that city, to the point where I know some of the residents are complaining about like traffic and everything. So that'll be another one of the things that we're going to talk about with our guest as soon as she logs in, because again, there's a lot of stuff. I think last week or maybe even into this week, Formula One was there. I know they do Miami Week. The tennis tournament is there. Of course, that's where the Dolphins play, during the stadium. University of Miami plays there when they play their home games. So it's a lot happening there. The residents have to deal with the increase in traffic of all of these events. And one of the things I want to find out about is like whether or not the residents there are benefiting somehow from the revenue that's being generated by those facilities and all of those events that are coming in there that's making hopefully millions and millions of dollars for the city. We had actually, y'all haven't seen this interview yet, but I did interview, and that interview will come on next week. And it will be, I interviewed District 104, Florida House District 104 rep, Felicia Robinson. She came in and did a legislative wrap up with me. That interview will air next week on May the 15th. And one of the things she talked about is how some of the water rights in Miami Gardens is actually owned by the city of North Miami Beach. And they're working on trying to figure out like how they can do something about that part, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to check in with the guest and see how many more minutes before she logs in. And I know things happen. We talk about traffic. Everybody's busy. There's a lot going on. She said she's coming on right now. I didn't even need to send a message. I didn't even need to send her the message. So she'll be hopping on right now, and then I will add her to the screen. Is Katrina Baskin, candidate for Miami Gardens City Council Seat 1. And she does have, I believe there are opponents. She does have folks who are running against her in that race, and she's going to come on. Hold on a second. We always have technical difficulties, especially when you don't have a producer, right? I'm kind of doing all of this by myself. So I have to send an update. Wow, is that's what happened when things are going live, right? That's what's happening when things are going live. But it's all good. We're gonna make this happen. I just need to resubmit that information in order for her to come on and join us. Things happen. I'm a working mom. I have like a lot going on too, and there are times that where we always aim to start the show at 5:30, and sometimes we can't. But nowadays, these services, they're like, listen, if you don't start that show when you say you're gonna start that show, we're gonna make you reschedule the whole show, and I kind of don't want to reschedule the whole show. So we're gonna do that. So just some Broward County news. I'm working on logging in. Just some Broward County stuff, right? So yesterday they were live streaming the negotiations between the former superintendent. I guess maybe he kind of still gonna be the superintendent, because apparently he's gonna get to work until July the 1st, I think it is, and then they're gonna allow him to stay past that and be a consultant. So I guess he's a superintendent too. So Broward County has like two superintendents at this moment, or at least they're paying two people, right? So so his exit was negotiated by the board chair, Lori Alhadef, who is also the District 4 representative on the board, and attorney Marilyn Batista, who they were going to try to fire like about a month or so ago, and then decided not to do that. So, they negotiated a contract, and, there's a couple of groups that I'm involved in on Facebook, and people are, people don't understand. Like nobody understands why he gets to stay 9 more weeks as a consultant, considering he had the job for less than a year. I'm not sure what he know or learned that somebody actually needs to continue happening. I think the new superintendent, one of the two, the other superintendent, Dr. Hepburn, is capable, particularly since they decided to give him the job the same moment that the man announced that he wasn't going to work no more. So you're giving a job to somebody who you don't think can actually do it. That just seems like a little bit, I'm not sure, right? So that's a little bit problematic, that we're going to, Broward County, who has all these financial problems, who has to go pay, the charter schools some upwards of like $30 million or something in the next couple of months, that they have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend again, paying two different people. I think Scott Travis from the Sun Sentinel posted that the exit package that the Licata is going to get is about $138,000 to kind of work, not work, what we do in Broward County. But there's those negotiations are going to, those negotiated contracts, both with Dr. Hepburn and Dr. Licata, is going to go in front of the board on May the 14th, I think at 4:00, for the board to decide if they're going to accept those negotiated contracts. I believe Dr. Hepburn is going to be paid somewhere like out of $335,000 or $340,000 for his services. And then there's some stipulations about like he got to be there for a year, in order for him to benefit certain things. That's going to be a whole rough year, I say, because you got charter school money that you got to deal with, you got school closures that you got to deal with. I went to they call it redefining schools, that's what they call it, not school, but they say they're gonna close some of the schools, so they did admit to that, right? So this whole redefining school is going to be happening in next year, because that's supposed to be in effect 25-26 school year, because 24-25 is the year that they're rolling out, getting people used to it, trying to figure out how they really going to do it, decide what properties they're going to sell, lease, rent, whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it. I don't understand. And I don't know who the people are that's making these decisions. So one other point I want to make on that is imagine when they present, anyone who's gone to those presentations, I believe District 6 with Brenda Pham's presentation is tonight. So, and I'm not sure where it is. I probably should have known so I could tell y'all, but look it up on the Broward County Public Schools page. They're going to tell you where it is. And they're also going to start live streaming it at 6:00. So you can go and watch that, be there, go. The comments are the best part. So if you've seen it, they talk about the same stuff in the very beginning. Every now and then, I think they're making some adjustments to the statements that they're making from the things that they're hearing from the people before. But the most interesting part of the whole thing is the public comments that people are making in some of the schools that folks are saying, like, we don't understand why you're trying to close them, right? And then the other thing that's happening too is that the elected officials in the cities that are being impacted are also showing up because they're like, yes, we want to partner with you, we want to work with you, we want to do this and do that. Um, it still don't sound like they're trying to partner and work and do all these things to make those schools any better. They got different things that they seem like they want, right? And one of the schools in I want to say it's called Oak Ridge, Oak something. That school doesn't have an enrollment problem, right? What they're saying is that school has it's been a CD, something like that school. They can't seem to get it to be a consistent C school. So they're deciding that they're going to close the school and send those kids somewhere else. Really? That don't seem to be like what you need to do. If that school doesn't have an enrollment issue, it sounds like you need to get educators in that room that can raise the academic standards of the students that's in that school, or get some administrators who are known for turning schools around to go into that school. So like all of this picking and choosing what schools y'all want to close, and you got this criteria that's fluid and that's changing. I don't get it, because if the school got all the students in there, it's not a capacity issue, then why would you move those children and make them go somewhere else? What you need to do is get adults in that room, get professionals in that room that can actually do the job and know how to teach students, instead of inconveniencing the students and the parents of those students who are going to have to go start figuring out how they're going to get those kids to school. So like that whole idea of closing the school that got more than enough students, but because it can't meet the grade, because the people who are charged to and getting paid for to make sure they get the grades and those students learn, what? That's who y'all need to change, not make those students leave. When I think about that, I think about this trend that's happening in family law right now, right? So one of the things that's happening in family courts is, because, like, especially when parents separate, is that it's the children that always have to go back and forth to the parents. Like, if they got them 3 days one this week, 4 days the next week, they got to pack up their bags and their little suitcase and go to their parents' house, where the parents get to live in their house. So some of the judges are like, you know what? Forget that. Y'all move, okay? Y'all go in and out of this house. So they let the children stay in the home, and the parents are the one that's moving in and out of the house, because to inconvenience the children because of decisions that grown-ups are making is starting to not make any sense, and that is not what's in the best interest of the children, right? So that school, which I believe is called Oak Ridge or something, somebody correct me in the chat. I know y'all will. Correct me and let me know the name of the school that they're thinking about closing, because that's absolutely not what you need to do, because the school is not a C and D school because of the fault of the students. That is those grown-ups that's getting paid to do a job are the ones that's not doing a good job, and they can't get that school to where it needs to be. And if those students need to learn in a different way, again, all of those people who went to colleges and universities and got all these graduate degrees and all of this kind of stuff, they need to go and figure out and develop a plan to teach and educate those students, instead of going to send them to some other schools. Because what I think is going to happen when you go send those children to another school is that they're going to get buried and lost in the sauce of those other schools, right? Because maybe their low scores or whatever's going on is not going to show as much, because they may be going into an A-B school, and then you get to legitimately neglect them for real, and then they don't get the proper education that Broward County Public School is promising people, children that they're supposed to get. So so Carla Michelle corrected me in the chat and said it's called Oak Ridge. Yes, okay, so I think that's what I said. I don't know, a girl getting old, right? So Oak Ridge, that school, there's no way. If the people are there and the problem is that it's a CD school, what y'all need to do is to get the educators, the teachers, the administrators, the principals, the whoever, into that school that's going to turn it around, instead of displacing those children, right? Because the product of the public school system, who the people who work for the system, they're there to serve the children, not to inconvenience the children, right? So serving the children is not sending them to another school. Serving the children is getting administrators, teachers who know how to work with that population of students and get them to where they need to be and raise the level of this school grade, instead of, moving them around. And I might have just beat that one up just a little too much, but that's truly one of the things that I think that's happening that doesn't make any sense to me. There's some historical schools that, that some of the parents and community members are coming on. They're talking about that. They're saying like, listen, this is not what y'all are supposed to do. Like there's trending, right? One of the I think this is like maybe in that Hollywood area, Dania Beach, something like that, right? They were talking about how they want to close some of those schools, and people are, the parents were saying no, those schools have enrolled anywhere from, like, the number has been anywhere from 75 to 100 students just this year. And it shows, it's trending that there are going to be more families moving into that neighborhood. So to make a decision to close a school right now that's trending, that is going to have the population that it needs to be operational, that don't make no sense either, right? And then once you sell these buildings, lease these buildings, give them to whoever, then they're not going to be able to get them back. And then what's going to happen with those students that need to get educated that's moving into those neighborhoods, right? Some of the things that seems to be popular is to make them into these not the Montessori schools, because I think there's some back and forth about the benefits of the Montessori schools. But there's one of the schools where they made it like a 6 through 12, I believe. And apparently that model, because I guess there's a beachside high, east side high, something like that. Broward is, So those particular schools, they have a model that seems to be successful, and they're thinking about implementing it in different neighborhoods or communities or whatever to make it better. Let's see what happens. Let me double check on I guess what's happening in Dade school. Oh, so apparently this is also happening in Dade schools. I think I'm going to end up just talking about that. Okay. Like, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to see what's going on with the guests. Let's see. All right, so I'm asking the guests to try again. So hey Monique, how are you doing? How you doing? This is happening in Dade school. I'm not sure if Dade is having this conversation about what it is that they're gonna do. Let's see if I can add her to the stage. Not yet. No, it's not moving. I think we need to get a better connection, because I see the person, not their face. That's the name. They're not. Let's see. I think she's trying to come on. Let's see. She's trying to come on. Let me get her face to come on, and I will add her to the stage. So we do have the guest. She's trying to come on in. So Dade School is doing that. So I haven't heard about how Dade. Hey, how you doing? I'm not sure how Dade is handling this situation, but I hope they're doing a better job than what Broward is doing, because this is just really putting people through a lot. It's like an emotional roller coaster. I don't know who they're consulting with, who they're talking to, who they like. I just don't get it. And I'm not saying it's not a hard or a complicated decision to make. I just think they're doing the rollout of it. It leaves a lot to be desired. I took one class, so I also have an MBA. So I took one class in business school that told us how you deliver this kind of bad news and how you handle these things, and they're not following none of them steps. So Ms. Baskin is here. Let me add her to the stage. I think she's ready. I think you're ready. How you doing? So I kind of had to hold it down. So you had me running my mouth for about 15 minutes.
I am so sorry. This has never happened to me. I'm a tech savvy person. Like, what in the world?
Hey, best laid plans. It's okay, but now you're here.
I am here. You don't understand. Yes. I was trying everything. Now I'm on it from my phone because I don't know what's going on with my laptop, but I am here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so the only thing that happens sometimes when you're on your phone is that if someone calls you, it will kind of mess up the connection, and you're probably not going to hear me. So that's the only downside of being on your phone.
Okay, maybe
we'll hopefully, that won't happen. And then I mean not that I don't want, especially people are calling to volunteer or donate to your campaign. I want those calls, right? We want those calls to come through. So just before you came on, I was talking a little bit about what's happening with the Broward County Public Schools. I think my rant, I did my rant. I did my rant. So you came on just in time, but it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to talk about. There's a meeting that's happening next week. That once that meeting happened, then I'll go and we'll see if those contract negotiations were accepted. Ms. Dennis came on and she said the same thing is happening in Dade County, that they're figuring out what they're going to do with these schools because they have all this under enrollment issue. And then they got these charter schools that's taking children out of the public school system, and the Department of Education just actually gave another charter school permission to open out of New York, permission to open some schools in Florida. So let's see how that's gonna go. But That ain't why you came here to talk. You might talk a little bit about that, but let's go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. I'd like for you to rename yourself if you can, and put that you're a candidate for Miami Gardens City Council seat 1.
I had that when I was trying to log on my computer, and when I did it from the phone, I'm like, let me just hurry up and put my name really
just
quick
get
so I
on,
can get
right?
on.
So let me see if I can. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna let
Oh,
me.
I see here. It says edit name. Okay.
Yeah, so you can edit your name and add that out. And add that to it so people will know that's exactly what you're running for. And we're going to remind them throughout the show that you're running for a Miami Gardens City Council seat. So if you could okay, Nancy A said, welcome. She's watching us on YouTube. So as she does that, I want you guys who watch the show consistently and regularly to go ahead and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It's good that you like our Racing the Racist Facebook page, but I would also like for you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, because we also stream on YouTube. I changed my Instagram account to a professional account, but I'm still trying to figure that out. I might have to get me like a intern that's good in production to help me out with all of that, right? But it seems like you're ready. You got it together. All right, go ahead. Candidate, introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me, Sandra. Again, I am so sorry I'm late, and the technical difficulties are sometimes out of our control. But nevertheless, I'm here. My name is Katrina Baskin. I'm a candidate for Miami Gardens Council, seat number 1. I am the mother of 2 beautiful children, Trinity and Travis. And I am an 18-year veteran educator. So what you were talking about is pertaining to education. I am well aware. I've taught in Miami-Dade County Public Schools all of my career. I've been everything except for an administrator. So I was a classroom teacher, a reading coach, and I worked at the district level as a curriculum support specialist in the reading and language arts department. Most of my work has been in the city of Miami Gardens. I worked at schools such as Crestview, North County K-8 Center, Carroll City Elementary School, Rainbow Park Elementary School. So I know the residents and I know the children. I know the community of Miami Gardens very, very well. I'm actually currently the PTA president at North County K-8 because that is the school that is in my area. And I just always try to find ways to give back and make my community better. I am a PK. I mean, I don't know what else you want to know before you get into the nitty-gritty.
But for those who don't know, PK, a preacher's kid, right?
Yes, I am a preacher's kid. So those of you that know the big church on 22nd Avenue and 167th Street, right by the Palmetto, that is New Way Fellowship Praise and Worship Church, where my grandfather, Bishop Billy, is the founding pastor in 1974. Oh, wow. And my father, Wendell Baskin, is the current pastor. So I grew up in the church doing. There was that phone call.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So I grew up in the church, doing community work, cleaning up, giving back to the needy, community service pertaining to the elderly. Just that's all. That's how I was raised. So that's really all I know how to do. I'm a public servant at heart.
So tell us, what is it that a city council member does? So y'all just call them council member and not city council members, because in Broward and Plantation they call them city council. So I don't know.
It is city council, but when we're just having a conversation, we just say councilman so and so, councilwoman so and so.
Okay, so tell us, what is it that they do? What does this council person do?
So the city council works in local government, and they're responsible for, I like to say, being the voice of the residents. So any issues that the residents may have, any challenges, any problems that they have in their community, things that they feel need to be made better or change, I guess the chain of command, the first person you want to talk to is your city council member. So we are the voice of the people. In my area is considered residential seat 1, and it is the smallest area in Miami Gardens. However, we have some issues and concerns in this area pertaining to gun violence, pertaining to the lights, the streets that need to be repaired, and so on and so forth. So the council member is the person you want to talk to when you want to get things changed. They're also responsible for proposing ordinances and policies, and that, to me, legislative work is like the most important thing, because that's how you in part the biggest amount of change. It's like when you leave, I feel like every council member, anybody in government, local government, state, national, federal, whatever, when you leave, you should be able to look back and say, okay, I was a part of that change, or I was a part of implementing this change in this area. So legislative work is the most important thing that I think for anybody in government.
All righty. So why did you decide to run? Because I'm doing like some campaign school. I finished one. I'm in the middle of the one. I'm about to do another one in the summer. Shout out to
Okay.
me, right? And
Shout
I
out
was
to
like, I don't
you.
want to run. I wanna deal with like candidates, right? Because I'm like,
Okay.
how y'all do it? So tell me, why is it that you decided to run?
Okay, there was another phone call. I decided to run because, as I said, it's just in me. That's how I was raised. However, for the last about 4 years, I've been able to be more active in the Miami Gardens area specifically, because I noticed the gun violence situations that were going on. I noticed on my street alone the elderly that needed support in certain areas, as well as the children. So last year, from January up until, if I can remember correctly, like April or May, there was a large influx of gun violence situations, not just in Miami Gardens, but nationally. And it's like every time I remember turning on the TV, you hear about a gun violence situation, whether in Florida or New York or Virginia, it was just all over the place. And I couldn't sleep at night. And when I get like that, I feel like I have to do something about it. So in July, I partnered with another local organization called Nationwide Youth Outreach, and we did one of the largest gun violence symposiums in Miami Gardens. It was a great turnout. We had police chiefs from Miami Gardens all the way down to Homestead. We had community leaders, we had pastors, we had children and families that were affected by gun violence. And we all came together, and the idea was to sit down to the table, so to speak, and just talk about what's happening, why we think it's happening, and then what are some things that we can do to make our community better. So the event went well, but it's like when it was over, I felt, I would say, like I unfulfilled. Like, okay, now what? We sat down, we talked about it, we talked about all these great things that we can do, but how am I going to rally these people to actually get them to get to the work? We can make a difference as one, but the impact that we can make as a community and together is so much more. So I wanted to run because, like I said, I have been doing things in the community, but I feel like now it's time for me to make a bigger impact on a larger scale.
So
And
what can you do as a council person to address the gun violence issue? You said you had this great symposium, people there, because everybody's always ready to talk. Let's have a conversation, right? They always having
exactly.
conversations, right? So what were the action steps that either came out of that or that you think you can do as a council person?
Okay, so in planning that symposium and in talking to the panelists at that time, I learned that the age groups that are mostly affected by gun violence are teenagers, starting from ages 12 up until 19.
They
So
can't buy
those are,
guns though.
I'm sorry.
They can't buy guns. So how is
They
it that
can't
they like
they
what does
can't
that
buy
mean?
guns, but these kids are getting them from older family members. They're in gangs with older young males and women, and they are getting the guns. Sometimes these young kids, they are selling things illegally and they're making their own money. A lot of times the parents don't even know that their kids have guns in their book bags in their house. They have no idea. So one of the things I would like to do is to impart a conflict resolution program in the schools in Miami Gardens, because what I found was a lot of our children, specifically our males, they are not well equipped on how to deal with conflict, um, anger issues, not knowing how to regulate their emotions and things of that sort. So I would like to get into the schools, and talk to these kids, give them some steps and some outlets to be able to help them with that situation, instead of them thinking that they have to resort to violence in order to solve their issues.
So is that something that you legislate as a council person, or is that just something like so how do you connect that? How do you connect your work as a council person with getting into the schools and trying to implement some sort of program like that? How do you make that connection?
Okay, well, first and foremost, there are organizations, and I've done my research. There are organizations that have programs already. So it's just a matter of connecting the two, the city with these organizations, making that partnership, getting them into the schools. Like I said, I am an educator with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I have done most of my work in Miami Gardens. So I believe that getting into the schools and getting the administrators to come on board and allow these programs in their schools, it wouldn't be a problem. It's just a matter of getting them to see the need and the importance to do so.
Okay, and I get that, and I understand that. So I just right before you came on, I was talking about the schools again, right? And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I'm starting to like, I'm just like, why they do this, right? So, and the why they do this is like, I think we put a lot of responsibility on children, right?
Oh
And then
yeah.
we're always asking children to do something, do better, get better, whatever, right? One of the things that you also, because you said is the age of 12 to 18, we know they can't buy no guns, right? And then you also stated that this is something that they get from adults. So why are we going into the schools bothering these kids? Bothering ain't the right word, but messing with these kids to give them an additional burden of all the millions of other things they got to do, as opposed to implementing policy and program that's going to target these adults that's engaging in this bad behavior that's putting these children in these situations. I think we put a lot on students. So
we
just
we, we
that
do
part.
we put a lot on students. I do agree with that. But what I've learned in working with kids over time myself is that you have to find ways to reach them. You can't have them sitting in an auditorium, being lectured, right? You can't have them sitting in a cold classroom and they have different speakers come up and talk to them. We have to make it interactive. We have to do creative things like role playing. You have to get them outside and interacting with one another and find ways to talk to them that. That's how I've seen kids be more receptive to
Mm-hmm.
things of that sort. So in these situations, I remember having a conversation with someone, and we got on the topic of not going to the kids, but going to the parents and making the parents responsible for what's going on with the kids. But the issue with that is sometimes you have single parents, or one parent household. The mom is always working. She feels like her kids are 14 and up, they can handle themselves. I have one in the house that's 17. She's responsible. I don't have to be there all the time. They seem to be doing the right thing. They seem to have their grades up. I don't have to hover over them all the time. And in those situations is where we find that the kids are doing things that the parents aren't aware of. Those are the cases that you hear about on the news when the mom is like, little Johnny was a good kid. He would never do anything like this. And a lot of times it's because the parent really don't know what's going on. Yes, we do need to involve the parents and make them a part of that conversation, but I believe in targeting the issue right where it's at, and that is with the kids.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So those are all good things. I still think that we try to get the children to do too much, and the focus really should be on adult behavior, and policy should have hold adults accountable for some of the things that these children are getting involved in, whether it be the parents at the house, the adults at the school, the person in the park, whoever. But I think adults need to be held more responsible and accountable for some of the things these children
I
find
agree. I
themselves in.
agree. I think
Yeah.
it's not a one, like, it's not going to just involve just the kids. Of
Yeah.
course,
Mhm.
right. I mean, of course, we have to involve the parents. So we could
Yeah.
even do parent workshops and things like that. But in those cases with parents, because I've offered parent workshops for topics that I felt like parents will be happy or excited to come out and hear about ways to help their kids. And you
Mhm.
know what happens? The parents that don't really need the support, they don't really need the workshops, those are the parents that come.
That show up because
Yeah.
it's a lot going on. So I know so gun violence is definitely a big issue. However, there's some other things that's going on, right? That's happening in the state of Florida, in all of the cities, and I don't know if city council people can do anything about it. So one of the things, like one of the problems that I really have, is the cost of my insurance on my home. Uh, the property taxes is one thing, but that insurance, Lord, the insurance, is that something that the city council could do? And me is one, I could still kind of go to work and work some extra hours if I need to. However,
Yeah.
there are a lot of folks, the people who I think are being impacted the most are, the older folks who their homes are paid for. They're like on a fixed income and the values are going up for reasons that's beyond them. And then now here they go, like, how they going to pay the taxes? How they going to pay the insurance? Is this something where city council could maybe have some set aside funding or whatever to help them out? Or that's like, leave that up to the people in Tallahassee and in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's like a state issue, and that's why I'm just gonna say it's important to get out and vote. And if we have issues with what you just mentioned, insurance and taxes, that is kind of out of the municipality's control. However, I do believe that we can implement programs to put funds aside for the elderly, which is one of the things I want to do, because I ran into, as I've been canvassing, a lot of the elderly, like you said, their house is paid off, they're retired, they're on a fixed income, but they are being cited for things that need to be repaired on their property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like their roof, or cutting back the hedges, or repaving their driveway, but they don't have the extra income. So I would like to put in place
Or
programs.
they can't do it because they're 80.
Exactly.
Like they can't do it.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And then if they can't do it, they don't have the means, or the financial means to call somebody to pay them to have them to do it. So I feel like our elderly, they're the foundation of our community, especially those that have been in any city, in Miami Gardens, any city, since its inception. Like, I feel like it's our duty to look after the elderly. So I do believe we need to put programs in place so that when the elderly come into a financial bind as such, we have a little stash that we can pull from to help them out, for sure.
Or at the very least, and I don't know if this is something they can do, the city, they have like their public works department, instead of like, giving them a fine that's going, that, and they charge daily, right? Those things get like sick, right? It's like every day some fine, send that public work guy out, have like a unit or whatever, or create a volunteer crew or something, and go and cut back them hedges instead of giving grandma a ticket.
Exactly.
And by the time she realized what's going on, she owes y'all tens of thousands of dollars that she can't pay.
Exactly, which is something that Miami Gardens has done. They have a home improvement program where they help to beautify their front yard, cut back their trees, painting. They even had a program to help them repair their roofs. So there are programs in place. I just believe that there's money there. It just takes a visionary to kind of see what can we do with that money to make life a little bit easier for our residents.
Yeah. And so I have another friend who told me to ask about this. So she lives in the city of Miami Gardens. And it's about the water bill, right? Because another rep told me that apparently Miami Gardens don't own their water facility. The city of North Miami Beach does. Correct. So okay. And so she had a water bill that was like $24,000. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Right. And so is that something that and I think she did reach out to the council, and I think they worked with her and maybe took off half and put her on a payment plan for the rest or whatever. So is that something that is the city council, or is this one of the things that you want to take on to figure out how it is that Miami Gardens can get their water rights back, or how they can negotiate the rate that the residents of Miami Gardens being charged by the city of North Miami Beach? Is that something that the council can do, or that's outside of the wheelhouse?
Yes, that is something the council can do, and they have actually been doing that. So they have been in close communication with North Miami Beach. Last I heard, there were some fees that some cities were being charged, but other cities were not. And Miami Gardens was one of them. So they got them to eliminate that specific fee. And now they have developed such a good relationship that they actually have, I forgot the correct term, but it's like where residents of Miami Gardens can go into North Miami Beach and they can sit down with them and go over their bill. And, if there's an issue or concern, get somebody to go out and look at their meters and things like that. So things are getting better in that regard, because at one point it was very hard. I mean, it's like your bill is your bill and you got to pay it, or you're not going to have any water. So it is progressively getting better, but things like that take time because, as you mentioned, Miami Gardens does not own that water.
And so when in the beginning, when you talk about the issues that you wanted to address, one of them was like the streets, right? And that has to do with infrastructure. So how is it that how can you improve the streets? I don't know if that means new roads, improving
Yes,
roads, wider roads, put in the slow downs, bumps on the road. What is it that you're
yes.
looking to do for the streets in Miami Gardens and District
Yeah,
One?
so we have quite a few schools in Miami Gardens. We have quite a few through streets where you can literally drive like straight down without any stop signs that are in areas that are by school. So yes, putting those speed bumps down, which is something that Miami Gardens has begun doing already. I just know that in my particular area, there are some areas that do need to have more speed bumps. They were even talking about putting cameras in school districts, I'm sorry, school zone areas to kind of catch those people that are speeding through school zones. I think all of that stuff is important.
Okay. All right. And I know we have like some infrastructure money that the federal government sent, but our governor hasn't decided to take the money. So how is it that Miami Gardens would be able to pay for the improvements to the streets?
So we do have they get federally funded for that, because I know like and I keep referring to my area because it is my area. So
Yeah.
I know a little bit
You
more
need
about
your
my
people to
area.
vote for you. So that's right.
Yes,
Talk about
exactly. Let
it.
them know I know what's going on. But
Yes.
in my area, area one, there's an area closer to County Line Road. Back there, for the longest, there were no sidewalks, there were no street lights. The roads, we even had dirt roads still back there, believe it or not. So there is funding for that to help with the infrastructure. Is what I'm learning is that it's just a matter of a voice, somebody saying, okay, we have X amount of dollars that was given to us for infrastructure. This is what we need to do. This is what I propose for us to do. So if we don't see and we don't hear, especially from the residents, about what's going on, or if you're not driving around specifically to see the conditions of the city, you won't know. So we got to go around, because like I said, the funding is there. It just takes a visionary to say, I think we need to do this to make our city a better place to
And
live.
someone that wants to make it a priority.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. I feel
Okay.
like wherever there are elderly people involved, wherever there are children living, people, period. But I mean, and if you live in the city yourself, why not make your city a better place to live?
Okay. So Dolphin Stadium is there. That ain't the name now. What's the name now? What is it called? Hard
Hard
Rock.
rock.
Okay, Hard
Hard.
Rock. So Hard Rock Stadium is there. Listen, I used to call it Pro Player for a long time. And
What
so
about
I go
Joe Robbie?
listen, right? Joe Robbie. So yeah, I go, Joe Robbie, I remember definitely Dolphin Stadium Pro Player. So I go back and forth with those. And now,
Yes.
so okay, so not Margaritaville was before, right? Okay, so now it's Hard
Hard
Rock,
rock.
you say. Okay,
Yes.
Hard Rock Stadium.
Mhm.
So that's in the city of Miami Gardens. They have all kind of events. I think the people who own that make a whole bunch of money, and they got the city of Miami paying for a lot of the stuff too. How does that stadium being there benefit the city, considering folks that live there have to deal with all this increased traffic for game days? Now it's Formula One, Rolling Loud, Jazz in the Gardens, all of these things. Does any of the events that take place at that stadium, any of the revenue that's generated for the events that take place at that stadium benefits the people who live in the city of Miami Gardens?
Well, the Hard Rock Stadium, I think it's important for everybody to understand that the Hard Rock Stadium is a privately owned entity. Like it's private.
But they
So
got
people,
money from the city of Miami to do that, though.
they did.
Okay.
And I would say the most positive that I think comes out of having the Hard Rock in Miami Gardens is the employment that it provides to the residents. And from Formula One and other programs that they've had. I'm sorry, my arm is hurting me from holding this phone.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. From
We're
other
almost at
programs,
time, so just hang there, just a little bit longer. Thank you.
I'm holding on. Um, is that I forgot what was I saying?
We're
So
talking
the
about you. You're saying that Hard Rock Stadium, the employment helps the residents, Formula
oh, and
One
but I
and
was
all.
gonna say,
Mhm.
right, when they have big program, big things, I want us to call it a program, but big activities such as Formula One, they because that's an outside entity coming into Hard Rock, right? And they are coming also into the city of Miami Gardens. So they did give City of Miami Gardens a substantial amount of money because they were coming into the city. So yes, to answer that question, from Formula One that I know of for sure, the city did benefit from that.
Okay, and so they could probably help pay these, grandma and grandpa's like taxes or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
insurance,
Like I said, you have the money is given to you, and then you decide on how you're going to allocate those funds properly,
and help
or
them people
in a good way.
who folks' houses are paid off. All right. So the other thing, so we're gonna get a little light now. So Jazz in the Gardens, I couldn't go this year because it cost so much. What's up with that?
Well, inflation, and as
That's what
the
you
years
call it?
progress, things get a little bit more expensive. We cannot expect. I remember when Jazz in the Gardens tickets were $50,
Uh-huh.
right? So we
Mm-hmm.
cannot. But at the same time, Jazz in the Gardens has progressively gotten better. So we cannot expect to have a great time, have current artists, because to my understanding, Jazz in the Gardens is nearly sold out every year. So even though the prices are increasing, the city is still getting a good amount of people that still want to participate. And if we really want to be there, we got to make it happen, I guess. But we got some great artists. It's a
Yeah.
great time. But we can't expect everything for cheap.
Right. And then you guys are you've actually motivated a lot of other cities to start having their own music festival. I know North Miami does one. I just saw something, Jazz in the Heights. I think Richmond Heights
Yeah.
has
Yes.
started like a program, like
I
an
think
event similar to that.
even Miramar did something similar to that. I believe like a jazz in the. I want to say they did something last or early this year.
Yeah, Miramar had parties all the time. So we
Oh,
always, I live in Miramar. We got stuff going on all the time.
okay.
There's no party or no celebration that they don't seem to like. So they like, what are you, a Hispanic, Jamaican, Caribbean, Haitian? They do it all, right? So the city of
That's
Miramar does
right.
some of everything. So if you
Okay.
think they had a jazz night, they probably did.
Yeah,
They
I think I
probably
heard
did.
about that.
That's
Yeah,
my
but
city, and I
I
love
think
it.
that's what
I
it's
love
all
it.
about. I mean, we should learn from each other. Some people always say, "Oh, they copying off of us." It's not even about that. You see somebody doing something great, and you're like, "Okay, that's a great idea. Let's see how we can implement it over here." And it's something great that you can offer to the residents in other cities. So why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
I call it borrowing. You're borrowing great ideas, and nothing is
No,
wrong.
imitation is the biggest form of flattery. And the thing is that you want people to party in their city, right? Like, so instead of going out and spending the money somewhere else, you want to bring it there so the money stays in their city. You want them to get gas in their city. You want to get their entertainment.
Right.
You want them to support all of the businesses that's in the city. So keep on copying cities and make your
Right.
residents
And
want to stay there.
it's also it's like unity. It brings unity in the community. We get to learn. I met quite a few people we had a at Jazz in the Gardens, and we also do karaoke in the gardens also. And at these events I meet so many people that live right in Miami Gardens that had it not been for these events I would have never met them. So
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to come out with your friends and your family, as well as to meet your fellow neighbors.
Absolutely. So how can the community support you to allow you to continue this great work that you're trying to do?
Oh, they can definitely go on my website at electkatrinabaskin.org. Also on Facebook and Instagram as Elect Katrina Baskin. You can join our mailing list. You can sign up to volunteer. You can see what upcoming events we have going on. We just started a newsletter, which is supposed to go out on the 10th of this month, which will be our first newsletter. And it will go on the 10th every month. So that'll be coming out on May 10th. And just spreading the word. If you feel like we need change in our city, you feel like Katrina Baskin is a good candidate to spark that change, then share with a friend, tell a friend, and yeah, word of mouth is
ElectKatrinaBaskin.org.
yes, that is
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
All right. Is there like so if they want to volunteer, so does it have the volunteer sign up there, donation link and everything
It
like that?
does. Everything
List
is
of
there.
events?
Yes. And what I'm learning is campaigning is expensive. When I first decided to run, I was like, you know what? I can do this. I got a little bit of money in my savings. I don't need any help, because I can be like that sometimes, right? I don't need any help. I have a vision to do something. I'm about to hit the ground running. But as I got started, I said, oh no, I
The
cannot do
mailers.
this by myself. It's expensive. It is
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah. So I am soliciting more financial support for sure.
And volunteers are important too, especially when it's time to vote. You need people to canvass with you, right? Because you say you're canvassing,
Oh yes.
spreading the word, share the information on social media. All right. So
Yes.
you're on Facebook, IG, Facebook and
Yes.
IG. All right.
Facebook and IG as elect Katrina Baskin. So on IG, of course, it's one word. And then on Facebook, it's separated. Elect Katrina Baskin.
On Facebook and IG. All right, then. So any
Yeah.
final words? Any final words? Any final thoughts before we close out?
I just want to thank you again, Sandra, for having me on. If you feel the need or you have the desire, you have an empty slot later on, I would love to come back again.
Absolutely.
And for the City of Miami Gardens residents, let's continue to make our city the great place to live, grow, and have fun. But we got to put people in office that have a vision to continue in doing so. So spread the word, share the word. Want to contact me, ask questions, you can inbox or DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or sign up for the mailing list, or contact me through my website as well. I'm a listener, and I like to listen to people, and I don't just listen. If it's something that needs to be done, I'm not the type of person that can just turn a blind eye to it and walk away. I'm a solution driven person. So there's a problem, I got to figure it out.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. And yes, we will come. So your election is the last day people can vote for you will be November 5th, or do you have a primary?
No, our election is August 20th, and that's it. August 20th.
Oh, it's August 20th. Oh, so you can,
Yeah.
August 20th.
Around the
That's
corner.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. All right. So we
That's
got to
it.
put that out there. So she's not on the November ballot. She's on the elections during the primaries, which is August 20th, 2024.
Mhm,
Whoever
mhm.
gets the most votes on that day, my cousin is on here. Cuzzo, get all the people in that house that could vote,
Yes,
including
please.
grandma. All right, it's August 20th is election day. So we
Yes.
definitely have to put that out. I'll add that when I repost the video. So August 20th, 2024 is election day. Is there some early voting happening too, or
Yes,
just on that day?
in early August. Yes, you can vote
Okay.
early August as well.
All right. So early voting, and August 20th is the last day
The
that
last
you can
day.
vote for the council. Group 1, Katrina Baskin wants your
Yes.
votes.
Yes, I do.
All
I
righty.
need your vote. Yes.
And before that, she needs your time and your money in order for her to continue this fight.
And your concerns, because your concerns are valuable also. But I feel like the concerns is what should guide the council members. Like, we should be able to listen to the residents. What challenges are they facing? What issues do they have? And that should be how we do our work. So I need your concerns also.
All right. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate you coming on. Forget the technical difficulties. We got it all in.
Yeah.
And we talked about all of the issues, and I will definitely have you back closer to the election day, because I will be interviewing candidates during early voting to just put them front of mind so folks can go ahead and know who it is that they need to vote for. And the video will stay up on the page. You can share it if you want to. If you want me to actually give you the video for you to clip it, I'll do that too.
Oh,
in order
awesome.
for you to go ahead and spread the information and let the people know how you stand on these issues. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
All righty, you too. Bye-bye.
Elections have consequences.